Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. We will be starting this session shortly, so just hold on a second and we'll get going. We're just going to give everybody a little bit more time to come in. All right. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our inaugural session for our LEAP webinar series. We're kicking off today with what we call LEAP Snap. LEAP is the platform that is offered by the division of EMC, part of Dell, and we are part of the Enterprise Content Division. We'll be going through LEAP Snap today, which is distributed capture for the cloud. And there will be three of us that will be involved in this presentation for you. We have Chris Mills, who is our, my screens are not advancing. One second. We have Chris Mills, who is our product marketing manager, senior product marketing manager for LEAP. Myself, I'm Fiona Schrader, director of product marketing for the LEAP platform and apps. And we also have Justin Betancourt, our senior manager for product management of LEAP Snap. So the three of us will be going through this session today and be taking care of your questions. And if you have anything, hold on. We are seeming to having a problem just with some of the people being able not to load. So one second.
And my slides aren't advancing as well, Fiona.
Yeah, mine aren't either. I did get an error, Stephanie. Uh-oh.
I think they just said starting your slides with your audience. So I think we're back online now.
There we go, it looks like. There we go. Apologize for everybody. Hopefully you're able to access this. I know there's one question from the audience regarding to cross-domain access denied. I think that may be a local system issue. You may try another browser. I'm not sure what we can do for that. So as we talk about today, we'll be going through LEAP Snap, which is distributed capture for the cloud. This is one of our apps that we've released upon the platform. And so just what we want to talk a little bit about etiquette today. If you have any questions as we're going through any of the slides, please don't hesitate to use the questions panel or questions tab within your BrightTalk presentation. So we will answer those as we can. If they're pertinent during the presentation, we will try and direct them there. We'll also do a bit of a close-up at the end. If you have any questions for any of us, our email addresses are simply firstname.lastname@dell.com, and those can be sent to either Chris Mills, Fiona Schrader, or Justin Betancourt, and we will get back to you as soon as we can. Also, to let you know that the session is being recorded and is going to be posted up on BrightTalk, so if you want to share the link with any of your other colleagues, coworkers, anybody else who might be interested in this, please feel free to do that. And we look forward to hearing your feedback, hopefully at the end of the session. I'd like to know what you think of this. This is a first of many that we will be doing. We're starting off with Snap, but there are other apps on our platform that we will be continuing to expand our library within the BrightTalk section of the EMC section of BrightTalk. And so hopefully you'll attend more of our live sessions and also see our recordings as they come up and are available to you. Chris, I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, Fiona. Yeah, and just a point, if you are having technical difficulties, we will be recording these. So if for some reason you can't get in, you're getting frustrated, The session will be recorded, and we'll provide access to that after today. Okay, so what I wanted to cover was just a very quick overview of LEAP, because I want to spend a lot of our time. You guys came to understand the SNAP application. So, and for those who do understand SNAP, then just you can phase out for this section. But I'm just going to give you a very quick overview as an understanding of why a couple of years ago we embarked on building SNAP and what we are really driving for this application. First of all, if you just look at our tagline, it's a marketing tagline, content apps for the digital era, but really want to understand what that means. And the first half of that's very straightforward, is that these are apps for content management. And when we talk about the digital era, I just want to talk about that for 1 second, is that, I mean, a lot of people are talking about the digital era. They're talking about digital disruption. Really what they're saying there is there's a whole series of technologies that have advanced very quickly over the last 5-10 years. One being the cloud, one being mobile and smartphone technology, and things like microservices that are making a pretty prolific impact on not only business and industry, but also on society. And it's really making a dramatic change on the way people view applications, work with applications, everything else. So we just want to talk about, and when people talk about digital transformation, they're saying, how can companies utilize these new technologies to become more competitive and keep pace with companies that have embraced them and are using them? So as we talk about content management, I just want to talk about some of the changes that we see and what's driving these new set of applications. And a point I definitely want to make early is that all of the LEAP applications are not replacements of our existing applications. These are completely add-ons, and what they're trying to do is they're trying to utilize those new technologies that we're talking about to make a better experience, make companies more efficient, make them have closer relationships with their customers. So let's just kind of talk about some of those changes that we see. So the first one that I'm going to bring up is the idea of going from multi-purpose to fit-to-purpose apps. In the past, we've all lived through the ERP age and everything else, where everyone tried to build these large applications that really tried to cover too much. And what we've kind of seen in the past is they were fairly complex. Users only use certain sections of them, and it made it difficult to have these multi-purpose apps where under a specific task, I want an app that's specifically designed to perform that individual task. So that's a very big shift, and especially with the use of cell phones and the apps that we use there, you'll see that's become the commonplace. So I think that's one of the big changes you're going to see in enterprise applications, is also a very purpose-built app. The next one is the power user versus the casual user. In the past, when we implemented these large systems, companies went out for 7 months of training, and it became very uneconomical and anything else to implement these systems and train new users as they came on. And so I would say that probably almost everyone in the audience has downloaded 10 new apps on their smartphones over the last year, and I can almost guarantee that you probably didn't go through a single day of training for any one of those. They're built very intuitive. They're built that a first-time user can come in and start using them immediately. And that's really what we're driving for, even with enterprise apps, is that it doesn't require those long implementations and training. Okay, inward focus versus external focus. Again, in the I would say previous to the digital era, we had what we call the information age, and that's when we started having large databases and networking and graphical user screens. And one of the things there was we were very focused on building apps to optimize what we do within our four walls. We were building ERP systems and accounting systems and things that say, these make us more efficient, but they didn't really have a lot of impact on our customers, on our suppliers, and anyone outside of our wall. And I think the big drive now is to create that kind of frictionless interaction with your customers, with your partners, is to now start to build apps, not so much internally focused, but focused on the experience of your customer, making it easier for them to do business with yourselves. And I think this is very close, very similar to the same note, is that the convenience of use for, again, the focus has always been the convenience of use for our internal users. Now we need to make a very personalized and pleasant experience for our customers. If you look at Uber, if you look at Amazon.com and some of these companies who have embraced this digital era, you can see that the way they interact is almost a personalized, frictionless integration or frictionless communication between them, their customers, and their partners. And I think that's, again, another area that we're seeing the industry's going. And then lastly, the idea of, again, ERP systems and some of these large enterprise systems were built massive monolithic applications. They took months and months, and they're very expensive to implement. And once we finally got them configured and used the way that we need them within our businesses, it came time to do upgrades. And that was, again, a complete nightmare of saying, retrain users, re-implement systems, porting data to the new versions of the applications. And companies are going to smaller and things in technologies like microservices have allowed us to build very componentized applications that say, I can upgrade and I can advance each component without affecting the others. So again, it does not require those very long, expensive implementations, and it makes a much easier way to pick and choose the components that you need without having to buy the entire monolithic application, these large ERP systems. So if you look at when we set out to build LEAP, we went with kind of three guiding principles to say all of our new LEAP applications must follow these three guiding principles to really meet those needs of the changing market. So the first one we talk about is intuitive design. That every single one of our applications, as we build them under the anticipation that there's not going to be any training for those applications. That a user can simply log in, and almost immediately it's either going to walk them through, or the screens are going to be pleasant, spacious, and easy to understand, and they should become productive literally within the first 10 minutes of bringing up the applications. And I think you'll see that today when we go through the Snap application. Ubiquitous access. Obviously, I think with some of these changes, with the cloud, companies are becoming far more distributed with their workers. They're looking for talent, not necessarily within their city limits, to say everyone comes into one office space and we all work off the same system. They're very much distributed. Employees are traveling more, yet we still have to keep that productivity up. So the ability to access content and system information from anywhere you're at, from any device, was very important to us. So again, one of the key principles in all of the applications is that you'll see they are never restricted to just logging into the main system, that you can access them anywhere, any device. And the last thing is adaptable. Because the components are built very small and configurable, that you can tailor them and you can pick and choose the components just that you need to create systems that are specific to you. So it's not like I have to change my business to fit the application. These applications can be picked and chosen and configured specifically to the way you do business. All right. Okay. Obviously, Snap is not a short-term road that we've embarked on. It's a road where we believe we're going to continue to build these types of applications to make users more efficient and be able to do these digital transformations into the future. Now, the first 5 that we've released, I'm going to go through fairly quickly and just give you a quick overview of the ones that are released. And something to understand is that we will also be having similar webinars like this to go over each and every one of these applications, so you'll get an in-depth understanding. Okay, so the first one is Courier. And the best way I like to explain Courier is that it's an exchange of documents with structure. In the past, there's been a number of different ways to exchange documents. We could email them. We could use things like file shares where we drop files all into one share, but there was really no structure or way to monitor what documents have been dropped. Is it easy for the end user to supply those documents? And so what it is, it's a very, very structured way. And the way I like to describe it is, if you think of the old mailroom sorters, where I could have individual slots for all the different documents. So if you think of a use case like if you're applying for a loan, they're going to ask you for very specific documents. They're going to ask you for, I want your last income statements. They want to see your ID. They want to see your mortgage papers. And there's all very specific documents that they want to use. And so what it does is it allows you to create a user interface where they can say, box A is for my payroll statements. I can drop them in. I can drop in my ID. I can drop in my mortgage papers. On the other side, the administrator can track each individual user on what documents have been supplied and monitor the progress. So it is a very, very different way to exchange documents. And I think you can think of a lot of use cases where companies have paper-intensive processes where they need to exchange documents, but they need a better, more structured way to do it. As far as Snap goes, I won't go over that in too much because Justin's going to go into it in quite a bit of detail. But Snap is our distributed capture product. And what it allows is to go outside of kind of the mailroom capture system where anyone, anywhere with a browser can capture documents with the same advancements in technology of things like document recognition, OCR, from any browser, anywhere, any remote location. Okay, just go to the next one. Is Focus. And what Focus is, if anyone's tried to view a large document on your iPhone or on your smartphone, it's very, very difficult because you have to pinch and zoom, you have to slide around, and anyone who's had to do this completely understands the frustration of doing that. What Focus does is it takes a large, complex document, restructures it in a way that makes it very easy to read on your iPhone. So it does word wrap, it does structuring, and allows you to go through and review and make comments on that document directly from your iPhone with a very easy user interface. And I can then send that document back to my repository, or I can email it to someone. So if my job and I'm traveling and I had to approve a large sales proposal or something else, I could read it very easily, make my comments, and send it back without slowing down that process. Okay, the next one is Express. And what Express is it really is enterprise content management for mobile. So all of the things that when we do have a large repository of documents, if we're connected to our main office, we have access to all those documents. What Express does is it allows you to access anything in your repository from your cell phone. So if I'm looking for a document, looking for a PowerPoint presentation, I'm on the road, I can simply scan it, look for it, and it will bring it up on my phone, and I can download it locally. So it's a way to get access to all that content, again, no matter where you are, anytime, any device. It also has a built-in task management system that says, if I have approvals that I need, especially, again, for something like a sales proposal or a contract that's very time sensitive, and I've got executives who are on the road, they can very easily get those tasks and say, I need you to review this document. They can pull it up on their mobile device, review the document, add their comments, and either approve or reject that particular document as part of that business flow. And then lastly, we talk about Concert. And Concert's one that's coming out a bit later this year, but it's a really exciting product because what it is the ability to collaborate multiple users on a single document. So instead of having multiple versions of the document where you're passing it around saying, I want you to section 1, I want you to section 2, what you can do is you can define those sections and assign them in a workflow so that each person will get their assigned section, and it's going to consolidate those changes onto a single document. So, and I think that's the case with most documents today, is that input's coming from multiple people within the company. This makes it a very easy, structured way to control that process and monitor the progress as they go through that collaboration of that document. So those are the first 5 applications that we're releasing. And just to quickly show you what the time scale looks like on those. The first 2, Courier and Snap, are in GA now, so those are fully available. The last 3 are the second half of this year. In fact, Focus, I believe, is in its final stages of release, and I think that's going to be released this month. So, and then the other 2 that you're going to see later on through this year. So on that kind of gives you, like I said, I tried to hurry because of time, and I know we're limited here, but I am going to pass it to Justin, and he'll go through now a detailed understanding of the Snap application and do a demonstration for you at the end. So Justin, I'll pass it over to you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Chris. Hi, everybody. My name is Justin Betancourt, Product Manager for Snap. Chris has gone through a good overview of LEAP and what we're doing with the LEAP platform and the different applications we're delivering under the LEAP framework. I'm the product manager for Snap. What Snap has evolved into is what we're calling distributed capture for the cloud. It is a very focused application targeting document and data capture. So it is a horizontal capture application. It's built on the multi-tenant LEAP framework, and we can self-provision a Snap subscription in a matter of a few minutes. It's really the application is really targeted towards basically capturing unstructured content at the edges of your organization and turning that into structured, actionable information so that you can drive your downstream business transactions that are basically paper-based transactions. And so Snap is really optimized for what we call knowledge workers. So, you know, if you think about traditional mission-critical capture applications that operate in the mailroom, these have very very specific types of interfaces for efficiently handling large volumes of incoming paper. So you might see a dedicated scan operator interface, dedicated index operators interfaces, and so on. We really tried to bring that the power of the mailroom into a very easy-to-use form factor. So the UI was really designed for that knowledge worker in mind. And so, like I said, if you think about the mailroom use cases where you can take a large stack of paper, you can break it up into smaller chunks of work, you can distribute the work based on priority to different types of operators, and you might have this multi-step workflow to get from step one in the capture process ultimately to the final step where all the content has been captured. Snap is really intended to have a user do all of that work in a single sitting. So from the scanning part of that, any sort of document assembly that might be required, any sort of indexing or dealing with recognition exceptions, all the way till the export step. So we tried to design the UI in a way where we're bringing the power of that technology into the hands of somebody who may not really understand all the different capture technologies. So we provided this guided user experience where Snap basically holds the user's hand through that process, so it's very difficult for them to make any errors and really get all that information perfected when the process is complete. We do have out-of-the-box functionality. So out of the box, without any configuration, you can use Snap to capture full text searchable PDFs. You have the ability to tag those documents with keywords, and I'll show you that a demo of that when I actually run the software. But basically, the flow for Snap is the same. So you have a few different steps. You have the scan, so you can control a scanner. You can import images from your file system, or you can drag and drop image files onto the Snap capture page. From there, Snap will automatically classify the documents for you. So Snap will be able to distinguish whether a certain document is an invoice versus a purchase order versus a contract, and so on. So it will automatically identify the type of document that it is, and then based on that identification, it will extract or identify the text on the document. So, take an invoice as an example. Snap will determine that it's an invoice, and then based on how you've defined that document type, it will extract information like the invoice number, the purchase number, the vendor ID, the different line items on the invoice, and so on. And then lastly, because we're relying on OCR technology, OCR is not a perfect technology. You're basically trying to take a picture of a piece of paper and convert that into actionable digital information. And so even the best engines, in the best scenarios can get up to 99% accuracy. So one of the important things about these applications is how do you deal with that 1% of data exceptions? So we've built the interface so that you can efficiently handle any sort of classification or extraction exceptions very efficiently. And then ultimately you submit that content to the back-end system of record, whether that's SharePoint or Documentum or Application Extender or any other CMIS compatible content management systems. That would be the basic flow. So what makes Snap different? I think really the true value in Snap is that advanced recognition capability. So the ability to automatically identify what type of document has been scanned in and automatically capture the relevant information or metadata on those documents. So that's really the magic sauce there is it happens in real time. So as the user scans in, we do that classification and extraction in real time. So really eliminating almost all data entry for the user. I mentioned the user interface. I don't think we can play that up enough. We spent a lot of time trying to perfect that user experience, and so far the feedback is that we really did create a very usable and a very good user experience with Snap. So we provide a UI that helps the user understand where they're at within the context of a specific transaction. So it's really easy for them to understand what they've done, how much they have left to do in order to finish that whole capture transaction. We've also simplified the setup for Snap. So like I said, unlike traditional on-premise capture applications where it can take weeks, if not months, to get set up and into production, you can provision your Snap environment in a matter of a few minutes. And one of the really cool and differentiating features in Snap that we like to talk about is this template design as a service offering. So with Snap and other capture technologies, it's not magic in that Snap doesn't automatically recognize all of your document types out of the box. So there is some configuration that's required. So if you want to identify a specific set of documents, we would create classification and extraction templates for you to automate the capture of those documents. Well, with this built-in this template design as a service capability, this is built directly into the application. So if you don't have the expertise or you don't want to design those document types yourself, you can use this template design service to upload a set of sample images, tell us the name of the document that you want to identify, tell us the list of fields, 5 to 10 fields that you want to capture from that document. You submit it, and within 24 hours, we will have created the classification and extraction templates for you and publish those into your Snap environment. So going forward, you can automate the capture of those. So this is really about reducing the amount of configuration and expertise that's required for you in order to get into the production timeframe for Snap. Now, you're not obligated to use the template design service. We have a design environment that you can take advantage of, or if you'd like more of a white glove type of professional services engagement, we can provide that as well. But this template design service offering is really a great way to get you started right out of the box. Okay. We also talk about openness with Snap. So we not just with Snap, but with all the LEAP apps, we really try to approach these in a repository agnostic type of way. So Snap is no different. So we do have out-of-the-box integrations with Application Extender, with Captiva, and then we also have a CMIS integration. So Snap can export content into any CMIS compatible backend. We've tested with various backends, including Documentum, SharePoint, Alfresca, and so on. And so we'll continue to evaluate the repositories we will integrate with Snap, but we are approaching this in a very repository agnostic way. We're also hardware independent, so we are the makers and manufacturers of the ISIS scanner drivers. So we work with all the major document scanner vendors. So we have partnerships with Fujitsu, Canon, Kodak, Panasonic, Epson, and so on. And those vendors contract with us to write their device drivers for their scanners. But we also work with Twang devices if you have a scanner that doesn't include an ISIS driver. And lastly, we talk about this better together scenario. So we really are trying to make Snap compatible with your other ECD technologies. And so Captiva is one example. If you are an existing Captiva customer, Snap is not intended as a either or replacement for your Captiva system. So you can export content directly into Captiva from Snap if you have a need to do that. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a couple more slides. We also talked about better together with Application Extender. So imagine using Application Extender in the cloud as your back end, so you can export content directly from Snap into Application Extender for all of your document management needs. And it's the same with Documentum. So being able to add value on top of your existing ECD solutions. Like I said, Snap is not intended to replace those. Okay, in terms of integration options with Snap, I've already talked about the backends that we interact with and Captiva Capture. Assuming you have a Captiva 7.1 or greater system, you can enable the REST services import capability in Captiva, and from there, Snap can integrate directly with it. We also have the ability to export content to any FTP folder, or we have the ability to download download the content locally. And that's the use case I'll actually show in the demo. All right, we'll let this slide build up. Okay, so wanted to talk a little bit about, how is Snap different than some of the traditional types of capture scenarios? So, we'll call those traditional types of applications. So, with on-premise capture systems, you would traditionally pay upfront. With Snap, this is a true SaaS model, in that you pay as you go. So we have a per user per month licensing model, and so no need to put a six-figure sum down in order to get up and running. So it's really a good way to test out any types of POCs, or if you want to test a new document type, Snap is a good way to get up and running really quickly and test that out. And as I mentioned previously, with traditional on-premise systems, it can take weeks or months to get that system into production. So you need to acquire that hardware, install your application servers, web servers, databases, any other components that are required. With Snap, you give us your name, your email address, and you'll have that subscription provisioned to you in a matter of a few minutes. And that includes a development environment, a test environment, and a production environment. So we have a very nice way of keeping your configurations tested, so that when they ultimately push to production, you know that they're working the way that you intend them to work. Next, we talk about the training aspect, and Chris pointed on this a little bit. Traditional capture applications really have a specialized type of user interface. It's a multi-step workflow. Typically requires a lot of training up front. Snap really requires very little training. We have built-in what we call first-time experience. We also have embedded videos, context videos to help you and your users understand exactly what they need to do within Snap. So really, you'll see with the interface, it is a very intuitive interface, and the idea is that it requires very little end-user training. And like I talked about a few minutes ago, the template design service is really a way to get you into production as quickly as possible. So no more setting up those templates on your own. You could take advantage of our template design service and let us do that for you. And this last one, as a product manager, this one is something that's really appealing, in that, with traditional software, it could be 12 to 18 months before our next release. And so if a customer has a good idea for an enhancement request, even if I think it's a great idea, there's not much I can do beyond telling them, we might make it available in our next release. Look out for it in the next 6 to 12 months. I know it's going to take you another 6 months after that to finalize your upgrade. So with Snap, we're constantly adding new features on a regular basis. So we have a monthly cadence where we can push out new updates. And so it's really nice to be a lot more agile with your development cycle and be able to push new features based on priority. So it's a good way to continually add value to the application and to your investment in the application. Okay, with that, I'm going to do a demo of Snaps. Just give me a moment here. I'll share my screen. Hey, Chris, can you confirm you can see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. All right, so I'm on the Snap landing page. I've already logged in here, and so let me just give a little tour of this landing page. Basically, this is where the user would normally start after they logged into Snap. And so on the landing page, I have 3 different what we call capture profiles. So each of these cards represent a Snap capture profile. And a capture profile is basically a configuration of Snap. And so that configuration controls, what types of documents that you will identify, what types of scanner settings are set, where the content is going to get pushed once all the information has been submitted. And so these are 3 different profiles. I can actually hover over the information icon there. It'll give me a little bit more information about what each profile is capable of doing. You can see I've got this drop down here to tell me the list of document types that are associated with this. So with a profile, you can have a single document type associated to it. You can have multiple document types associated to it, or you can have all document types associated to it. It's really based on how you set up Snap for your business environment. The other thing I wanted to point out is I'm logged in as an administrator, so not all features are going to be visible to all users. So depending on the user role that's assigned to a user will determine what parts of the product they have access to. But as an administrator, I have access to the development, the test, and the production environment, so I could toggle through each one of these and see a different list of profiles. Right now I'm in the production environment. If I was a normal end user, I would not see that drop down. The same with the management drop-down file menu here. This is an administrative view, allows me to perform different types of activities that are associated to an administrator user. Also have a drop-down here telling me what user I'm logged into, which subscription I'm logged into. You can get into scenarios where you might want to have multiple subscriptions for your organization. Maybe you want a subscription for Department A, another one for Department B, and so on. So this is just a quick and easy way to see which subscription I'm logged into. I have the ability to do search ahead. So as I type, it will in real time filter down the list of profiles. So for the first demo, I'm going to go ahead and do a basic capture to PDF scenario. So this is the out-of-the-box functionality. You don't have to do any configuration to use Snap in this way. So what's happening now is Snap is actually making a connection to my local system. So if I had a scanner attached to it, I could actually control that piece of hardware through the browser application. The way we do that is we use some technology that we partner with the scanner manufacturers on, and that's called our Cloud Capture Toolkit. And so with the ISIS drivers that I mentioned earlier that we bundle with the scanner manufacturers, we also include the Cloud Capture Toolkit. And that's technology that basically allows a browser-based application to control a scanner that's attached to your hardware. So in previous generations of software, you might have done this with a Java plugin or an ActiveX control. So Captiva Cloud Capture Toolkit is a way to do that in a browser plugin-free way. So now that we've connected to the Cloud Capture Toolkit, I'm just going to go ahead and import a couple images here. You'll see that we're basically in the scan and import step. We get a summary that's letting me know I've imported 2 pages. It's a single document type. We'll go ahead and transition to the organized view here. You'll see if I wanted to take a quick look at the image in more detail, I can do that. I can go to an image editing mode if I want to do things like despeckle, deskew, line removal, rotate, and so on. You'll see we have this visual workflow UI up here. This is to give the user some context of where they're at in the transaction. So the first step was scan and import. I could always go back to that step if I'd want. You'll see that the green bar stays underlined on the step that I'm actively in, but the organized step is still highlighted as blue because that's as far as we've progressed. And these are all clickable, so if I wanted, I could click on the review step, and it's going to take me directly to the review step here. You'll see that all of these fields are optional, so I don't have to use these, but just for the purposes of the demo, I will add some fields here. Okay, and then when I'm ready, we go to the final submit step. You'll see we have 2 total pages. We have a single document. We'll go ahead and hit submit. Now what happens when I hit submit really depends on how the profile is configured. In this case, I've set it up so that I can just download the content so that I can show you what Snap has done. All right, so you can see that we have the 2 pages that I imported. This is all configurable, so I don't necessarily have to have those pages in there, but I want to open up the PDF. You can see that it is fully searchable, so I've looked for the word, and then go look for order. You can see I can identify all the text on that document. The other thing that I want to show is if I click on the properties, you can see those tags that I added in Snap. Those are pushed directly into the PDF document properties field there. So it's a good, quick and easy way to tag information so that you can search on it later. Okay, and then lastly, actually I'll skip that for the next scenario. So when you're done, you return back to the Snap landing page. One thing I want to mention here is that you have the ability to call Snap or invoke Snap from other applications if you want. So let's say you had another business application and you placed a scan button on that application. You could have that scan button invoke Snap and actually pass it the capture profile to use. So in that scenario, the user would not ever see this landing page. They would drop right into the scan and import step of the Snap transaction. And then when they hit the submit button, it would return them back to that business application. So, I'm showing Snap in a standalone mode here, but it has been designed so that it can work with other business applications for doing the capture functions for it. So this next scenario is where we're going to use Snap to actually do the auto classification forming. So once again, we're going to go to that scan and import step. The Cloud Capture Toolkit is going to make a connection to my laptop here. Once it does, I can go ahead and import some invoices. So what's happening now is as these pages are imported, they're being sent to our LEAP data center. Snap is automatically detecting the types of documents that were imported. It's determining the document boundaries, and then once we determine the type of document, we will extract the relevant information. And so you'll see that we've already identified 3, now 4 documents. You can see the document boundaries at the bottom here. And these red numbers for each of the documents, basically Snap has identified what we call data issues. And I'll show you how you can quickly fix those issues in a second. So once again, we've imported 8 pages. We've identified 4 documents. We'll go ahead to the organize step. The organize step is really, you'll notice the UI transition to where you're just dealing with the thumbnail images. And so this is a UI that's optimized for document assembly. So if you wanted to, clean up and organize your documents, so if you wanted to delete thumbnails, if you wanted to merge documents, drag and drop thumbnails, this is the view that you do that. So a couple things I wanted to point out here. If I took the first page of this corp source doc, I can go ahead and I can create a new document if I wanted to drop it there. Or if I dropped it into this second document, you notice we get a exclamation icon here. And basically, this is not a fatal error. It's telling me that Snap believes that this is part of the corp source document and it looks out of place. And so it's just bringing to the user's attention that, hey, are you sure this document belongs here? To fix this, you can drag it back to the right document. So if I go ahead and move it back, you'll see that error state goes away. Another error state I want to show is if the document hasn't been classified, you'll see that we get a similar type of icon there. This is basically telling me we have an unidentified document. So this is one that was not classified, and you should probably classify it. So we'll go ahead and change it back, and now I'm ready to go to the review step. So because I changed the document type, it's asking me if we should reprocess it. I'll just say, yes, please reprocess. You'll see that the pages that I moved those are the only ones that are being reprocessed. And once they're done, we'll go ahead and advance to the review step. Okay, so now that we're in the review step, Snap is telling me it's identified 11 data issues. Now, a data issue can be multiple things. It's really based on the business rules that are associated with this document form. So maybe you have a field that you always want the user to manually review. Maybe it's a field that's really important and you just want to have a set of eyes take a look at it. Maybe you have a field where the OCR rate is not of high confidence. So you can set confidence levels for different fields. Maybe the extraction was below a certain confidence threshold and you want the user to review it. Maybe there's a recognition where an O was recognized as a 0, and so you want to bring that to the user's attention. So a number of reasons can determine why a data issue might pop up, but as I mentioned earlier, with Snap, we want to have this very efficient exception handling. And so we bring the user directly to the field that has an issue, and we highlight the zone on the image. So you'll see the terms, the net 30 terms the terms are net 30. For whatever reason, Snap didn't identify it, so we're just going to go ahead and select it. And as I click next issue, it's going to take me to the next field with issue. And this is actually a specific type of field. This is what we call a table field. And so we represent those, because it's a more complex layout, we represent table fields in a special format. So you'll see as I select one, that error goes away. And you'll notice up top the total number of errors. As I fix those errors, they decrease. And so ultimately, we'll walk the user directly through each one of the issues. I'm not going to fix all the issues just in order to finish the demo here. But so we'll go ahead and progress to the last step. Basically, Snap is saying, hey, you still have some data issues. Are you sure you want to go to submit? I'm saying yes. I could configure this to prevent the user from submitting content with that has any data issues. But for this case, we'll go ahead and submit. Like I said, this could be configured to push all your content to a repository. But in this case, we're going to just bring it to download. And I'll get a link to a zip file in just a second here when it's done packaging everything up. And you'll see I'm not going to go through the PDFs again, but you'll see here are the original imported images. Here are the 4 output document PDFs. And I want to show the structured content. So each of the documents has a fully structured XML file that contains all the data that we extracted from each one of those invoices, and that can be consumed by any downstream business system. Okay, and that's the demo. I'm going to go back to the slides. And okay, and I want to talk a little bit about Captiva and Snap. I believe we have a few viewers who are existing Captiva customers. Want to help them understand how Snap is positioned alongside Captiva. So as I mentioned, you can export content from Snap directly into Captiva. There's different reasons why you might want to do that. Maybe you want to have a single on-ramp all of your content through Captiva. Maybe you want to do downstream processing. You want to push any of the index exceptions to index operators, or you want to have just some more advanced processing on the content. You can do that. For Captiva, not one interface fits all. So you want an interface that's optimized for basically you want the right tool for the right job. So we have our high volume production oriented interfaces like Scan Plus, identification and completion. Those are basically mailroom types of interfaces that are geared towards somebody who's doing capture all day long, who's dealing with exceptions all day long. Snap is really meant for that knowledge worker who is doing capture maybe a few times a day, maybe once at the end of the day or the end of the week. So it's the right tool for the right user. We also do have the ability to reuse Captiva configurations. So our design environment for Snap is called Snap Designer, very similar to Captiva Designer, and you can import your Captiva configurations into Snap Designer. So you can import your document types, your recognition projects, your image processing profiles, and so on. Really is a way to just jumpstart your use of Snap and to reuse those configurations you've already designed for your environment. And then I wanted just a quick slide to show what that deployment, a hybrid deployment model might look like. So this graphic's meant to represent your existing Captiva on-premise system. You can use the Captiva web client, and that would require the deployment of the Captiva real-time REST services that can communicate with your Captiva server. And then we have tools for, we have the Snap cloud deployment, so that's hosted in our data centers. It uses a similar type of REST services, but those are what we call LEAP capture services. So we built Snap on top of those capture services that are hosted. We offer a set of tools for creating custom applications. So as I mentioned, we have the Captiva Cloud Toolkit. which Snap was built upon. We also have our Captiva mobile SDK for building custom mobile applications. And so if you wanted to do classification and extraction of documents in a custom mobile app, you could use your on-premise Captiva real-time services, or you could use the Leap capture services. So basically, you have a way to deploy Snap and Captiva in a hybrid type of deployment model. And I want to talk a little bit about the Snap pricing. So Snap is divided into a few different subscription tiers. I think the most popular tier that we've talked to customers about is the Plus tier. So that's basically all the functionality of Snap. So that includes the auto classification, the auto extraction. It includes 10 templates designed for you through the template service. The next level down is the Essentials tier. It's basically the same as Plus, but it does not include the real-time advanced recognition. So that it's, if you just want to do some manual document classification and manual data entry, but you want to use that very intuitive interface, the Essentials tier is the tier for you. And then we have what we call the Loyalty tier, and this is for existing ECD customers that are current on maintenance with Captiva, and this basically gets you a full subscription, really for proof of concepts and trying out the software. It's free for 2 years. You can process up to 10,000 pages a year. It includes all the features of Plus, as well as a couple templates that you can use in the template design service. So this is a good way to try out Snap before you fully commit. And then we have the Ultimate tier, which is basically a custom subscription so that we can handle any type of custom scenario that we may not fit within the Plus and Essentials tier. And lastly, I want to talk about the accessing a Snap trial. So if you don't qualify for the loyalty tiers, you can still get access to a trial. So if you go to leap.emc.com, you scroll down, you'll select the Snap logo there, and then complete the Register Now form. One of our customer success managers will be in touch with you and help get you set up with the subscription. And with that, those are the slides we wanted to present. So I thank everybody for their attendance, and now we can open it up to questions. So if you want to enter your questions into the Bright Talk interface, it'll take, I think it takes about 60 seconds for those questions to queue up. So Fiona, Chris, anything you want to add while we let these questions queue up?
Justin, one question I have is, I mean, this all looks great, obviously, but some of the questions I commonly get are, what else are you planning? What else are you thinking about in future versions of LEAP?
Yeah, so thanks for the question, Chris. Yeah, so we didn't present a roadmap in this session. We really wanted to focus on the current product, but some of the things that are in the lab right now are we are working on a mobile client, so native Android and iOS Snap mobile application. So this would allow you to actually take a picture with your phone of a document, and basically it would be a similar type of interaction as the web client. So we would automatically detect the type of document. We would extract the information. So this is really for field-based types of use cases where document capture is important. We're also working on creating a full web designer experience. Right now, the Snap Designer is a thick download, and so we want to move that into a full web experience. And then we're also exposing the what we call the LEAP capture services. So these are we have a set of services that you can call in a REST application to embed these capture functionality. So we're actually entering in beta for those services now. So those should be available within the first quarter of next year. So if anybody has any interest in participating in the beta program, please send an email to us at the end of the presentation, and we'll get in touch with you. So those are just a couple of things we're working on. We have quite a bit of features in the lab that we're working on, but those are I'd say the priority at the moment.
Great. Thank you very much, Justin. Thank you, Chris. I hope everybody enjoyed the session today. Again, if you have any follow-up questions, as we mentioned, the session today is recorded, will be loaded up in BrightTalk, will be available for your access within the next 24 hours. You can feel free to forward that, re-listen to it, send us any questions you may have, and we thank you very much for your time today.